Hello everyone. Today I'm going to be talking about my favorite franchise of all time. We are going to be reviewing every single God of War game ever, except for the side-scrolling one. We don't talk about that one. My hair doesn't look that good. Let's try to fix it here. Where's my comb? That's not really helping. Kinda. But I want to talk about every single God of War game. I did God of War a big disservice in the past. I made some pretty cringy videos. Please do not watch those videos. For each game, I'm going to go through 4 points. I'm going to go through story, I'm going to go through the combat and gameplay, and then I'm going to go through the score and the music and stuff like that. And then at the end, I'm just going to give general thoughts, maybe some complaints. I don't know, we'll see. I'll just kind of keep rambling and see where it takes me. At the end of every review for each game, I'm going to put them in a list from my favorite to least favorite, so please stick around to the end of the video to see where all the games lie on my objectively correct list. Alright, I got my merch. It's kind of hard to see. I got my merch right here. You still can't really see it. As you can see, it says the God of War instead of the Godfather. Alright, I think I'm ready. Are you ready? Yes, you are. Let's get started. Ladies and gentlemen, to start off these reviews, we must go to where it all started, way back in the Dark Ages, back in the year 2005. Whew. Not much is known about this time in the early 2000s, but one relic survived, and from this relic spawned an entire video game franchise. This relic is known as God of War.
You should play God of War because it'll get you laid. God of War is fucking rad.
Anyways, all joking aside, this game was cutting edge for the time. Now yes, there are a few things in it that are a little dated, and I'm going to give a little disclaimer. I'm going to give this game a little bit more slack on some things because it is the first game in the franchise. It was still trying to find its footing, so it's understandable if things don't really stand up to the standards that we have today. Also, and this goes for all the games I'm about to talk about, all of these games obviously had people's blood, sweat, and tears poured into them. So whenever I really start complaining about something, I understand that this development studio was not lazy, okay? They put a lot of work into all of these games. So take all of this as more constructive criticism than just I'm hating on the games. I'm sure you people understand this, but just to cover all my bases, I don't want people saying, you just complain about something and they... You know what I mean. Anyways, this game is still really good. Even all that said, I still think it's a really good game. There's a reason that this game has 7 more that follow it. So why is this game really good? Well, I suppose we should start with the story. So I'm going to let this one be sort of a testing ground. I don't know yet if I should really summarize the entire story or if I should just kind of say the story in one couple of quick sentences. So I'm going to try to do maybe a little bit of both. I'll do a sort of chunky summarization of the story, just in case anyone's new to the franchise and they want to know a little bit more about the games before they jump into them or whatever.
Foul beast! I will send you back to the depths of Hades!
In this game, we are introduced to Daddy Kratos, a Spartan warrior who became a captain of the army. And he was a darn good captain too. So good, in fact, that the game says his army started in the hundreds, but then grew to the thousands in a short time. He was conquering everything, and people were scared of this guy, except for his wife and daughter. Now, these two characters are really important, especially for the earlier games. Now, she just starts nagging him.
How much is enough, Kratos? When will it end?
Shut the hell up and eat a cinnamon roll.
So they stay back in Sparta while he does all his conquest nonsense and such. So one day Kratos is out conquesting, and he's doing pretty good, right? He's killing all these folks and stuff until he gets to the barbarian army. And man, these people were no joke. They were not playing around. Basically, they almost killed Kratos. Almost. Until Kratos is like, yo, Ares, can you help a brother out?
Ares! Destroy my enemies, and my life is yours.
Ares is like, I got you. So basically, Ares comes down, blasts a Hadouken at him, and then everybody just freaking explodes and just... People are set on fire, people are freaking getting cut in half, freaking bending in half, having their freaking necks broke. And then Kratos, he's special. He gets the Blades of Chaos, his signature weapons. Hold on a second. These bad boys right here. Blades of Chaos, baby. Basically 2 blades on the end of a giant chain, and the chain is wrapped around his arm, and the chains are seared to his skin, so they never come off until they do, and then until they don't. It gets a little confusing. So Kratos is out conquering one day, and he comes upon this little village. He's about to go in this big old temple. Then this little lady comes out, and she's like, "Yo, don't go in there. You do not want to go in there." And man, he just freaking shoves her out of the way. So he goes into this temple thing, and he just ransacks the place. Basically kills everyone inside until, he realizes he killed his own wife and daughter.
For how could he forget? Spilling the blood of his own family.
My wife, my child, how? They were left in Sparta.
The little lady's like, "Didn't I tell you, boy?
Boy?
You idiot. I told you. I specifically told you not to go in this dang temple, and look what you did. Look at it. Yeah, you see how your wife and child are burning in the fire over there? Yeah, I'm gonna take those ashes right on your skin. Look at you. Now you're white. Now everyone's gonna know how freaking stupid you are." Basically, then Kratos swears revenge on Ares for tricking him into killing his own wife and daughter. That's right. Ares put his wife and daughter into that temple.
You are becoming all I'd hoped you'd be, Kratos. Now, with your wife and child dead, nothing will hold you back. You'll become even stronger. You will become death itself.
Basically, his goal was to have Kratos sever his ties from the mortal world. Oh yeah, one thing I guess that's kind of important is he has these nightmares of killing his family, and he basically asks the gods to get rid of these nightmares, and they're like, "Okay, if you kill Ares, then yeah, we'll forgive you."
That is why it must be you, Kratos. Only a mortal trained by a god has a chance at defeating Ares.
And if I am able to do this, to kill a god, then the visions, they will end?
Complete this final task, and the past that consumes you will be forgiven.
So Kratos sets off on a quest to find Pandora's box in the Temple of Pandora on Kronos' back. Once he gets to the box, he's going to crack it open and get the powers to kill a god. And he's going to use that power to kick Ares' ass. Once Kratos finally kills Ares, he is crowned the new god of war. Wait, actually, he tries to kill himself first.
The gods of Olympus have abandoned me. Now there is no hope.
So at the end of the game, he's like, "So, can I have these nightmares taken away?" And they're like, remember when we said we would forgive you? Yeah, we meant we were just gonna forgive you. Now we're not gonna take away your nightmares. So, sorry.
Athena, rid me of the memories that haunt me still.
You have done well, Kratos. Though we mourn the death of our brother, the gods are indebted to you. We promised your sins would be forgiven, and so they are. But we never promised to take away your nightmares. No man, no god could ever forget the terrible deeds you have done.
So then, yeah, Kratos then tries to go kill himself after that's revealed to him. But then Athena's like, "Nah, you are going to be the new god of war." And then, roll credits. So yeah, that's basically the story of God of War 1. I don't know if I really explained it that well. But as far as the story goes, yeah, perfectly fine story. I think it was a perfectly fine, good story. Good excuse to have this guy hacking and slashing all over the place. So I give the story, let's see. I don't know if I should do, letter grading or number grading? I don't know. Let's do number grading. I give this story 8 out of 10. It's good. It's a good story. Not incredibly complex or super deep, but it's really good. I'm trying to think, is there anything else about the story I should mention? Oh yeah, I suppose I could mention the animations of the high definition scene. Well, I guess sort of both the in-game engine cutscenes. Look, you should know this. I'm not a video game developer, so I'm not really sure how they made these two different kinds of cutscenes. There's obviously like a lower quality version of them, and then a higher quality, better animated kind of version of them. One of them's obviously made more in the game engine, and one of them's obviously pre-rendered. Anyways, I guess we could talk about that. Yeah, new. Scratch what I said before at the beginning of the video. I'm going to add a new section to each game. It's going to be graphics and cutscenes, or just graphics, I guess. I think graphics kind of covers everything else. So yeah, graphics in this game is kind of what you would expect from an old PS2 game from 2005, and that is really sharp, except for, of course, in the pre-render cutscenes. Some of those actually look really good. Some of them are a little janky, though. Like, there's this one I specifically remember. It's when it's revealed that Ares is the one who put his wife and daughter in the temple. Hold on, let me look it up here. We're gonna react together.
Now, with your wife and child dead, nothing.
Basically, Ares is like, yeah, I'm turning you into this monster that,
You'll become
and you'll never be
even
redeemed
stronger.
ever in your life.
You
And it
will
zooms into him,
become
and he does this little head
death
nod.
itself.
But as the flames
Right there.
consume the temple,
He does his little head nod. He's like, oh, that doesn't sound too bad. Like, yeah, I just killed my wife and daughter. I'm never gonna be a normal human again. And he's like, oh, yeah, a little bit. It's so subtle, but you can really see, if you look for it, you can really see it. And it's really funny. It kind of puts the scene in this whole other context. I don't know why that's there. I mean, I guess maybe it was just a little slip up from the animators, but it's really funny. But then, yeah, most of the time it looks pretty stilted. Again, I'm gonna give it some slack because it's old. It's back in the day. It's the first game. Also, like I said, this was really cutting edge for the time. I remember when I was a wee lad playing this game for the first time. Don't tell my parents. I remember these graphics looked amazing. I was like, how is this even running on this machine in front of me? So yeah, the pre-render cutscenes actually look pretty good, especially for the time. But then that leaves the cutscenes that look like they're rendered in the game engine itself. You can really tell, especially nowadays, with all the sharp edges and stuff like that. Also, another weird thing about the rendered in game engine cutscenes is that for some reason they cannot get the dang Blades of Chaos consistent. Like, when you're actually in game moving around the character and stuff, they're consistent to whatever level you have them upgraded. But when it goes to a cutscene, they are just different every time. I don't really know why. Again, I'm gonna give it a little slack because it's the first game, so they probably just I don't know. It could have been one of a million things. I don't know. But it's really distracting, especially nowadays when games are so detailed and consistent nowadays. When you go back and see your blades are like level whatever, and then it goes to a cutscene and they're completely different. And I don't mean they're just a different level visually. Like, there's this one I specifically remember where the blades have like really sharp little points on them. I'll just show a picture. What's interesting about this one is that these are actually what the Blades of Chaos looked like in some concept art. So I can kind of see maybe this was one of the first scenes they animated, so that's why the blades look like that. They were still basing it off the concept art that they had at the time. But yeah, and I'm pretty sure if I remember correctly, that's the only time they show up like that. Yeah, I don't really know why they do that. Like I said, it could be anything, any reason. But since the pre-rendered cutscenes are so much more high quality, the blades are really consistent. Except they're on backwards all the time. Well, okay, not all the time. Sometimes you can see that they're on the right way. And I get it. Hold on. See, the blades, when you are holding them like this, and you go to put them on your back, they're going to be backwards like this. Like this, okay? But when Kratos, the usual look for Kratos is they're like this. Okay, they're facing, oh my god, they're facing like this on his back, okay? That's the usual look for Kratos. But for him to just put him on his back like that, they would be like this. Okay, so to put him on the back like this, I'm not really explaining this well, am I? If he were to always have his blades on his back like this, he would have to spin them around and then put on his back like that. But he doesn't do that. His usual movement is just he shoop like that. Anyways, my point is he usually never has them the right way on his back in the pre-rendered cutscenes. Sometimes he does. You can catch a glimpse. Sometimes he does actually have them the right way. Anyways, I sound like such a nitpicky nerd right now. So with the weird inconsistencies with the blades, I'm sure that gets fixed in the next games. So graphics by today's standards, I don't know. It's kind of tough. Again, I want to give it some slack. I think by today's standards, they'd obviously be a much lower score. But like I said, at the time, they were really good. They were really pushing the PS2 to its limits. So I'd say for the time, I'd say like a 7.5 out of 10. That's pretty good. But by today, maybe like a 3 out of 10. I don't know. That's kind of harsh. But my word is law. So now I think we should finally get to the bread and butter of what this game's all about, and that is the combat. And I gotta say, combat's really fun. Obviously, it's a little dated now. There are some things in it that don't quite hold up as well nowadays. But overall, and again, especially for the time, it was cutting edge. It was awesome.
Return to your master. Tell the god of war I am his no longer.
So when the game starts, it tells you got your basic attacks, got your light attacks, heavy attacks. Heavy attacks are slower, but they do more damage. Light attacks are faster, but they do a little less damage. You can take all of these moves and multiply them by 2 because you can do them all in the air. Pressing circle in the air is one of my particular favorites. And there's this one move you can do when you launch them in the air. And when you press circle a bunch of times, you can lock them in this sort of stun loop. And you can just grapple them up in the air and slam them on the ground over and over again. That's always a lot of fun to do. For certain enemies, like the smaller and weaker enemies, you can just press circle and you'll instantly grab them and you'll just tear them apart or whatever, shove your blades down his throat. But on bigger enemies, you gotta work your way towards that circle press. And then once you get there, it'll play this little kind of mini game kind of thing. It's called a QTE, Quick Time Event. Basically, you just gotta press the buttons in the right order, and a cool animation plays out, and the monster's dead. Later on, you can unlock chained together combos, and you can just go ham on all the people that spawn and try to kill you. One thing you might have noticed while watching this gameplay I'm providing for you is that it looks incredibly smooth and stylish. The Blades of Chaos are so unique in the way they move, with a trail of fire that follows them every time you swing them. Now when I recorded this gameplay, I played on the PS Now version of the game, so there's a ever so slight delay on the button inputs, but when you play on a straight PS3 version of the game, the combat is super responsive and it feels really nice to handle. So it starts off pretty simplistic, but later on, once you unlock more stuff, it gets really fun, really complex, especially when you get the second weapon in the game, which is the Blade of Artemis. It's just a big old sword that looks like actually a bigger version of one of the Blades of Chaos, kind of. So you get that sucker and you can just swing that thing around. I love the sound it makes. It's a really cool sound. It's like you. Also, what's really cool about this weapon is the animations. When you kill someone, sometimes they'll like fly in half, and it's really cool. One thing that kind of sucks about the Blade of Artemis is that it feels a little bit tacked on for the final boss fight. Like the only reason they added it at all so that the sword controls in the Ares boss fight weren't so jarring. I don't know, I could be wrong, but the reason it feels so tacked on is that there aren't many moves you can unlock with it. Every time you upgrade the Blade of Artemis, it just unlocks more power. You get all the moves from the start, and it's a shame because it's an awesome weapon, but I barely found myself ever using it. Because, you know, since you don't ever unlock any new moves with it, it's just not as interesting to use. What I really like about the combat in this game is the blocking. Now, I know that may sound kind of strange, but the blocking in this game is so smooth. You can be mid-combo and press that block button and boom, you're blocking. It's like there's no like animation, there's no kind of prep. I don't know the word for it, but there's no delay. Once you're blocking, except for some moves, which kind of balances it out. There's some more powerful moves you can do later on where you can't block during it. For example, the Cyclone Chaos. You cannot block while you're doing that, so it's a pretty powerful attack, very good attack, but to balance it out, they made it so you can't block while you're doing it. The same can be said about dodging. Whenever you tell the game to dodge, it wastes no time. In almost every scenario, you can shift the right stick and you'll roll no matter what. But just like with blocking, there are certain moves you do where you cannot dodge out of them. Later on, you unlock more stuff. You can unlock the parrying, and that's really cool. You parry, and you do an attack when you press the button at the right time. I guess one thing forgot to mention, it's not super important, but it's pretty cool. When you're climbing on walls and stuff, you can fight and grab people, and that's a lot of fun. I think that's a really cool inclusion. It's not as refined as it is in later games, of course. It can get pretty tedious at times because when you fight on walls, all he does is kind of like a straight up and side down attacks. He doesn't do like the swiping attacks he does in later games, so it's kind of not as streamlined, I guess. I don't know. Oh yeah, and then we're going to talk about wall combat. Then there's some combat when you're climbing on like ropes and stuff. That kind of combat can get a little tedious, a little boring. I don't know. It's not as engaging as just on the ground combat, because all you really do is you just kind of kick them, or if you do a heavy attack, you just swipe your blades, or you can do like how you do on the wall, you just press circle and grab them and throw them. Then of course, seeing as this is set in Greek mythology, you got a bunch of neat little magic attacks. Well, not little, I guess. They're pretty powerful. They're really good in this game. They're all visually different, and they're all pretty good at separate things. They did pretty good in this game to differentiate them. You got the Rage of Poseidon, which is this big electric lightning storm kind of thing that is an area of effect. It blasts everyone around you, and once you upgrade it, you can get the ability to mash circle, and it goes on for a little longer, and the area of effect gets a little bigger. You got Zeus's lightning bolt, which is really good for ranged attacks. Once you unlock that more, you can just spam the crap out of that thing. You just freaking do. It's freaking awesome. Oh my god, I can't. There's 4 of them, right? What is the other one? Oh, Medusa's head. Freaking duh. That's so obvious. I'm so stupid. You got Medusa's head, which you can point at people and they freeze and then they stop in their tracks. Then you can break the statue they turn into and then it kills them instantly pretty much. Once you upgrade that, you get the ability to like have an insta kind of flash freeze. You don't gotta hold it down, you know. Then the last one you get, which is I think the most powerful, is the Souls of Hades. This one, basically you just kind of throw a bunch of souls out there and they just start tearing up people for you. Once you upgrade that thing, it is like unbelievably OP. To balance it out though, they have it so when you use it, it takes, I'm pretty sure, half of your magic bar. So you can't just spam it over and over again. But the magic attacks in this game are pretty good. In my opinion, the later magic attacks get a little samey. Visually, they're usually different, but the stuff they do is kind of the same a little bit. This game, like I said, I think does a good job of making them feel different and kind of making them do different things. Then another form of magic you have is your rage meter, and the rage meters have become a staple in all the God of War games, I guess, kind of except for the prequels. But basically how this works is you have this little meter at the bottom left or right. I don't know which way my camera's gonna be facing when I do this, but it's at the bottom corner of your screen. When you hit people, or if you get hit yourself, it fills up just a little bit, and then once it's full, now I think this is probably my favorite rage in all the games, at least visually. I love how it spawns like armor on you, and the armor's like made of electricity, and your blades are like red and blue, and they're like, is there like just electricity everywhere? And I love how much it changes like your move set. Basically, it changes your heavy and light attacks, visually at least. It's just different, and it looks really cool. And one thing that I really like about this one is once you upgrade it further later on, it lets you use infinite magic while you have it active. So you can just spam the armies of Hades while you're doing that, and you can basically just walk your way to the end of the game.
The only problem I have with it though is that it takes way too long to fill up, and when you finally use it, it doesn't last long at all.
That's what she said!
If it was just a little bit faster to fill up and it lasted just a little bit longer when you actually used it, it would be the perfect rage, and my favorite rage in my opinion.
There are plenty of collectibles you can find hidden throughout the game. Your main two are Gorgon Eyes and Phoenix Feathers. When you collect 6 of either of them, the Gorgon Eyes will increase your overall health, and the Phoenix Feathers will increase your overall magic. The third type of collectible in this game is a Muse Key. There are 2 of them hidden in the game, and when you find both of them, you can put them in a door, and that door will unlock, and there are some goodies within there. The Gorgon Eyes and Phoenix Feathers are a staple in the God of War series. They have stayed all the way up to the newest game actually, except of course they aren't Gorgon Eyes or Phoenix Feathers, but these collectibles definitely incentivize the player to go exploring in these levels, despite how linear they are. Now let's talk about something that this series is known for, and that is the boss fights. And the boss fights that are in this game are really, really good. There are technically only 3 major boss fights in the game, that being the Hydra at the beginning, Pandora's Guardian, and Ares at the end of the game. The only downside to these boss fights is I wish there was just more of them. But what I really like about the boss fights in this game is that, I guess sort of except for the Ares one, you have to use the environment to kill them. In the Hydra boss fight, you have to pin down the 2 smaller heads so you can fight the bigger one. And in the Pandora's Guardian fight, you have to use this weird log launcher to sort of pin it to the door and finally kill it. The Ares boss fight is really unique because he sends you to this little dream sequence, pocket dimension kind of thing, and you have to fight yourself and protect your family. It's a neat little twist. So yeah, overall the combat is pretty great. Boss fights are great. Combos are very stylish and pretty easy to pull off. It's the type of combat that's easy to pick up but hard to master. But anyways, I could go on praising the game all day. Now we should probably talk about some cons about the combat. I think probably one of the biggest things, at least later on in the game, or right after you get the Sword of Artemis, is there's no real smooth way to switch between them. It's kind of this awkward, you press the 2 shoulder buttons at the same time. I don't like that at all. It's not as smooth as it could have been. And another thing, I don't really think this has too much to do with the combat, but it's something to do with the leveling up systems, is there's these red orbs you get in the game. It's basically your experience points you can spend, and then you get the upgrades and stuff. The one really weird thing about them is the bar at the top on your HUD. For some reason, when you're just playing the game, it doesn't show you the exact amount you have. It does like levels, I guess. I don't really know the word for it, but it doesn't show you, like, say you have 1,000. It doesn't say 1,000. It says 1 or however many. I don't know. I still don't really know how much it takes to fill up one thing. You know what I mean?
Hey, future me here. I actually went back and discovered it takes 300 exactly to fill up an entire level, or whatever they are, I don't know. But yeah, 300, that's still such an odd number, not even like an even number, like 500? Well, that's not an even number, but you know, it's a halfway number. Or maybe even 1,000? It's such an odd number to pick. Anyways, back to my present self.
So you get a bunch and it'll fill up the meter, and then the meter will start over, and then you got 1. Then the meter will fill up, and then you got 2, then 3, then 4, then 5. It's really weird. I don't know why they did that. I mean, this is one of the few complaints where I don't think I really can give the benefit of, well, it's the first game, because I feel like this kind of thing goes without saying. You just put the number of how many you have. It's really weird because it's very tedious to be like, oh, I gotta press pause and then I gotta go see how many I actually have, when it could just be up there, because the levels don't really serve a purpose. I mean, I guess it would make a little more sense if when you went to upgrade something, it actually said how many of those levels you need to upgrade the thing, instead of how many actual orbs you need to upgrade it. If that makes sense. It probably doesn't.
It also takes for goddamn ever to upgrade higher level things. Look at how long it takes to upgrade the final souls of Hades. Unforgivable. Jesus Christ.
Another complaint, like I said earlier, I'm pretty sure, is the wall combat is not as smooth or enjoyable. The wall and rope combat is not as smooth or enjoyable as the ground combat. You know what would make the wall combat worse is if, okay, this is crazy. What if they put an entire wall climbing section where the pillar is rotating and there's blades on it, and when you get hit by the blades, it doesn't even give you a second chance. You just freaking plummet down, all the way down. And let's make it like 3 miles tall or something like that. And yeah, when you get hit by the blade, you just fall all the way back. You just restart the game. Yeah, I mean, doesn't that sound fun to you? Yeah, this is actually in the game. I don't know why this is in there. I guess I forgot to mention in the story section that Kratos actually dies in this. That's kind of important. I don't know why I didn't. So anyways, he's sent to hell, of course, because he's a crazy mofo, and you're climbing your way out of hell, and there's two sections where you have to climb up this pillar that's rotating, not just one way, but there's different sections to it where it's rotating, and then the next section will be rotating the opposite way. And not only that, there's blades on them, where if you get hit by the blades, you get sent straight back down. No questions asked. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. You get, a blade gets within like 3 inches of you, you're down to the bottom. You're right to the bottom. Now, well, I will admit, once you get the hang of it, it's not too bad, but for a first-time player, I can imagine this would be the worst thing like ever. If you're a pretty skilled gamer, then if this is your first time playing it, then it probably wouldn't be that bad. But man, yeah. Well, then there's these other parts where you're walking across. I guess that's another complaint about the game I have, is there's a lot of like tightrope walking and skinny boards of wood walking in this game, and it's really easy to like fall off, and then you gotta mash X, and then you get back up, man. It's just tedious. I'm glad in later games they sort of do away with that kind of stuff. It gets less and less each time, each game. But anyways, there's a whole section in Hades where you're walking along these skinny rotating pillar things. Those have blades on them. Luckily though, those aren't like an insta kill. If I'm pretty sure if they hit you, you won't fall instantly to your death. I get it. I mean, it's Hades, so they probably wanted to be like, yeah, it's Hades, we're gonna make it super hard because, you know, it's Hades, it's supposed to be suffering and burn. I'm actually pretty sure they said something like that in one of the interviews. But yeah, what section am I in? Combat and gameplay. Yeah, sure.
You know what? I think it is pretty appropriate that we talk about the platforming type of stuff that's in this game. Out of the entire series, I definitely think this one is the most puzzle heavy game and platforming heavy game. There's still puzzles and platforming in the other games, but this one definitely has the most head scratchers. And a lot of the platforming in this game is pretty brutal. The entire middle section of the game is spent in a temple that is trying to stop you from getting to Pandora's box. So, you know, it makes sense that there's dozens of booby traps and puzzles and all these things that are trying to kill you. The part where it looks like you're jumping on giant batteries comes to mind. But yeah, a lot of the puzzles are pretty good. Some of them are freaking hard though. Well, not hard, but they're pretty intense. I think one we can all agree got our palms moist when we first played it is the one where you have to push a block over a floor of spikes before they pop up. Yeah, I could play that a million times and I will still curl my toes whenever the clock starts ticking faster. I don't even know why either, because when you fail the puzzle, it doesn't put you back that far. You just gotta retry it. I don't know, something about the sound design really gets my heart pumping. And also, for every decent puzzle that there is in this game, there's also a really weird one. Like, for example, near the beginning of the game, when you first enter Athens, there's a quote-unquote puzzle where you have to reach this ladder, and there's nothing to jump on to get up to it. Ignoring the fact that Kratos could just climb up to it, as he's been established to be able to do, that is a problem that is kind of laced throughout the entire God of War series. We have to go find a way to get up to this ladder. So what does Kratos decide to do? He goes up through this temple, or it's not really a temple, it's like the gate to the city. He comes out on top, he pushes over this statue, the statue falls over, the head comes off, then it rolls perfectly right underneath the ladder. Now he can jump up onto the head, and now he can jump on the ladder? That's just weird. How did he know that would land perfectly so he could jump on the head to get to the ladder? That doesn't make any god dang sense. And then he just climbs up the ladder to get to a rope that just takes him back to the building he was just in. Then that leads down to the other side of the gate he was trying to get through. Yeah, kind of strange. There's one puzzle that's a little goofy where you have to stack two statues on top of each other. I mean, it's a decent puzzle, but it just kind of looks goofy in the context of the God of War universe. But like I've said 1,000 times already, it's the first game. They're still trying to find their identity. It's alright that some of the puzzles are a little weird. Also, what never fails to make me chuckle is when you knock over the statue and the head lands in its spot. It plays this really like dramatic, mysterious music like you just discovered the freaking cure to cancer or something. It's hilarious. Yeah, there's a lot of these kind of weird little moments throughout the game. Also, there are these other weird little sections where the game sort of gives you these choice prompts. Like you'll find a key and you'll find the door that the key goes to, and it'll ask you, do you want to use this key on the door, yes or no? And it's like, well, I have to, because that's the only way to continue the story. It's just kind of weird. Maybe it's to let the player explore the area a little more. I don't know. And I guess while we're already in the subsection, we should talk about the 10 challenges of the gods you can do. Basically 10 challenges you can find in the menu that when you complete them all, you unlock all the costumes in the game. And the costumes give you different perks and stuff, like infinite magic, or you can collect more orbs. They're pretty goofy. These challenges are something else that have sort of become a staple in the extras of the God of War games. And I'd actually never done them in this first game before until I was making this video. And when I went to record, at first I was like, you know, these aren't too bad. You know, there's a couple of kind of tough ones, you know, some good challenge. You know, they're called challenges, so I expect a little challenge. But then I got to challenge number 8. Oh, kill all the enemies? That doesn't sound too bad. Let's do this. And from what I understand, challenge number 8 is pretty infamous among the God of War 1 challenge community. I don't know if there's a name for him, or I don't know. That's what the guy in the video said, okay? I don't know. Now keep in mind, all of these challenges usually take about 3 to 5 minutes to do. This challenge can take up to 20 minutes if you're being careful, and you have to be careful because you'll die instantly if you're not. And when you die, you start all over. Also, if you decide to back out of these challenges and go back and do them later, you start all the way from challenge 1. I don't know whose decision that was, because that is pretty ridiculous. It was so weird. When I finished challenge 8 and went to challenge 9, challenge 9 is like the easiest thing ever. That should be challenge like 2. But then there was challenge 10. I don't think I've ever gotten this mad at a video game before. The developers decided, hey, let's take the 2 most annoying characters in the game, the guy with the staff with the 2 hooks at the end and the little dog things, let's put them together on a 2x2 foot platform. What could possibly go wrong? Yep, this challenge can go fuck itself. Challenge number 8 can also go fuck itself. I am never doing those again, ever in my life. I cannot describe the amount of relief I had when I finally finished challenge number 10. I thought it was nearly orgasmic when I finished challenge number 8, but nope. Challenge number 10 was a different kind of feeling of euphoria. And it's not that these challenges are hard, it's that they are stupid. There's a difference between hard and stupid. Challenge number 8, it wasn't too difficult, it just lasted way too long. Challenge number 10 though? Challenge number 10. It's like Kratos swallowed 30 tons of iron, and the freaking outside of the platform is made of magnets, because it kept freaking flying to the edge for no reason at all. I wish I had more footage of it, but I stopped recording because for as long as it took, if I recorded all of it, my entire hard drive would be full. It took a freaking long time. And challenge number 8 sort of highlights another problem I have with the game, is that a lot of the combat encounters last just a little bit too long. Sometimes it's to the point where you can kill an enemy and you can just sit on top of its spawn and you can wait for another one to spawn. Sometimes this can leave me a little unsatisfied because, let's say for example, you just fought this giant cyclops and you're like, yes, that was satisfying, I just brought this thing down. When you finally finish that fight, sometimes the game's like, oh, screw you, here's another one. I don't know, I just feel like that kind of lessens the impact of the first one you killed, and it's not as special anymore. I don't know, that's just my opinion, but yeah, that's another small gripe I have with the game. Luckily in the later games, this is fixed, and a lot of this enemy spawning feels a lot more natural. Also, I'm sorry if I sound very negative and pessimistic during these recordings. I kind of decided last second that I would actually put a section about the challenges in this video, so this is all recorded right after I completed them, and many profanities were uttered during that time, so I have a kind of foul taste in my mouth. That's why I sound very negative right now. I'm very sorry. It will not happen again. Anyways, I'm kind of going off on a tangent. Let's get back to more positive things. So the combat and gameplay. Let's see, what score would I give that? 6.5, maybe 7 out of 10. And that's not a bad score for me at all. That's a good score. 7 out of 10 is like good. That's good. Could be better though, and it does get better. So on to our next point or section. I don't know.
My life is yours, Ares.
Now this soundtrack is really good. The theme of this game is so iconic. It has carried through all the other games, obviously, except for the newest one, but we'll get to that. But the classic theme, it's great. The song that plays when you're fighting Ares, ooh, that's a good one. That is a good one. But the music is very atmospheric when you're just walking down through a big old temple and stuff like that. Very, very good. Except, look, if you've played these games, you might know what I'm about to say next about the music. There's something very weird that happens with the soundtrack about halfway through the game, and that is, there is one track that starts playing and never stops playing, even when other music is playing. It is called The Architect's Mysteries. And it's really weird because from what I remember playing the PS2 version, and I haven't played that version since I was really little, I swear I don't remember that happening. I think it's only a problem with the PS3 version, but it will play all the way up to the point in the game where you sit on the throne in Mount Olympus. It is so weird. I have no idea how to fix it. I've looked it up. People have had the same issues. I did find one fix, but I tried it and it didn't work for me. But once it starts, you could restart the game and close out and make a save, reload that save. It won't stop. It's really strange. I don't know if this is like an oversight from the devs. Well, it must be if it happens. But like I said, I swear it didn't happen in the PS2 version. I don't know. Unless I'm losing my mind, I have no idea. But what sucks about it is that it's a good song. It's like a really good atmospheric tone setting song. Very like mysterious and like you feel like you're in the desert and stuff, but it just keeps playing and over other tracks. So it's like it's hard to hear the tracks that are meant to be there and meant to set the tone at the time when this other song is still playing over it. It's so weird. I don't know why it's like that.
Now, before I play some examples for you, here is the bit that you are looking out for, because it is the most recognizable bit from the song, in my opinion. And it's always the part that stands out to me when I hear it in the background covering other songs. Okay, so now I'm going to show you some examples I got from the gameplay. Now keep in mind, I did not edit these. It sounds like I did, but I didn't. You just have to trust me. And also what's absolutely bonkers about the gameplay I recorded for this video is that it actually stopped playing. I did capture some footage of it playing over other songs, but I only did it for a little bit this time, which is so weird because the past few times I have played this game, it is played all the way up to the end of the game. And of course, the one time I try to record it, it doesn't. So you're just gonna have to take my word for it. It has happened to me pretty much every time I've played this game on the PS3 version.
But soundtrack's good overall. When you listen to every track individually, they're all good. They're all pretty good. And it established the theme for Kratos, the theme for God of War in general. It's I give the soundtrack a 9 out of 10. I listen to at least one of the tracks from this game almost daily. So that leaves general thoughts about the game. I think overall this game's really good. It's a really solid game. This game really laid the groundwork for everything that was to come, and it spawned so many clones. It's really funny, kind of sad sometimes, but hey, Dante's Inferno, that's a good game. But, of course, there are some things to be improved, some little minor things with the combat. Some things feel just a little slow, some things just feel a little bit clunky, but luckily that does get fixed later on, and we'll talk about that when we get to it. The story is really solid, even though some of the cutscenes are kind of dated, and the blades are inconsistent for some reason. I'm not sure why, but I'll give it a pass because, like I said a million times, this is the first game. And I kind of didn't really mention this, but a lot of the gods, a lot of the characters aren't consistent with the later games. The main couple of gods you see, Zeus, Poseidon, Hades, they are all completely different for the most part in later games, like especially Hades. Holy crap, he looks completely different. But overall, I would say I give this game a solid 7 out of 10. 7.5. 7.5. It's good. A good game. Without this game, I would definitely not be the person I am today. My life would probably be completely different. I know that's kind of weird, but it's true. So that is my review of God of War 1. As for where this game goes on the list, it is currently the best and worst game because I haven't reviewed the other games yet. So please, if you want to catch those reviews, make sure you subscribe. I know it's pretty cliche to say smash that like button and subscribe, but yeah, if you want to see the future reviews, go ahead and give that button a little press there. You won't regret it, I swear. I learned a lot from making this review, and I know how to make my reviews better in the future. Thank you very much for watching. I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.